Welcome back to my channel. Subscribe, like, and share your comments at the end of this video. Let's get the channel to 20k. With that said, let's get into the video. One would wonder why Black history is something palm color people want gone. Like, there have been issues of wanting to remove history or stopping rather to teach Black history in American schools. Well, it's like they keep on trying and trying. You won't believe what I'm about to share, but looking at what has been happening, I bet this is not a surprise. In these two videos, content creators share how Texas historical group removed slavery books at ex-slave plantations. Now, in case you're wondering why they did this, apparently, around 24 titles, including slave narratives, were removed after one palm color woman's repeated complaining. Now, I want you to underline the word one. It was just one person. Now, let's go to the funny part. I find this funny anyways. But according to this article, the woman thought that the Vanderhook plantation presented too much information about the enslaved Black people who worked the sugarcane fields and not enough about the palm color people who lived in the main house. Is this a reason why people can even reach a point of removing the books? Moreover, we are talking about one person complaining. Check out the videos. I will be right back.
On today's episode of white women doing a pirouette right into a watuk, Texas Historical Group removed slavery books at ex-slave plantations. Around 24 titles, including slave narratives, were removed after one white woman's repeated complaining. The Texas Historical Commission has removed around 24 race-related books from the gift shops of two former slave plantations because one person complained, according to Texas Monthly. The magazine reported this week that Michelle Haas, a white amateur historian, began emailing a commission board member after visiting the Varner Hogg plantation last year. The magazine reported that Haas thought that the Varner Hogg plantation presented too much information about the enslaved Black people who worked the sugarcane fields and not enough about the white people who lived in the main house. What? I came here to learn history, and here you are pushing an agenda to try to make me feel ashamed to be white. The melanin-free audacity it takes to complain about books about slavery at a plantation. Not only is this lady an amateur historian, she's also an author. And does it surprise you that the lady who's bitching about books about slavery at a plantation wrote a book that attempts to debunk 12 years a slave? Haas disputes Northrop's account of his life and argues that many U.S. histories are overly harsh to the South and do not acknowledge that slavery was a socially acceptable and economically worthwhile practice worldwide at the time our 13 colonies arose. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying, well, I mean, they had to sneak around and hide their slaves because nobody accepted it back then. Nobody is saying, I mean, they actually lost profit margins because of slavery. Nobody's fucking saying that. I will bet a whole lot of money this woman also bitches about Confederate statues being moved or removed because we can't be erasing history. The fucking audacity it takes to go to a plantation and bitch that the gift shop has books about slavery. I cannot believe that they had this here. I mean, this is where I wanted my daughter to get married. You think I'm going to let her spend the happiest day of her life surrounded by things that try to make her feel ashamed, be white?
Texas is always on some BS. Someone please explain to me why, out of all the things in the world that we could be doing, specifically white women are wasting their time doing things like this. The Texas Historical Group removes slavery books at ex-slave plantations. Around 24 titles, including slave narratives, were removed after one white woman's repeated complaining. The article goes... I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. The article goes on to say that this woman, Michelle, I think her name is Michelle Haas, I skipped the part where it had her first name, thought that the Varner Hogg plantation presented too much information about the enslaved Black people who worked on the sugarcane fields and not enough about the white people who lived in the main house. Her name is Michelle Haas, but this is one of my favorite parts. Haas is the author of her own book titled 200 Years of Fraud, which takes the text of 12 years of slave memoir and points out what she considers to be historical inaccuracies in the primary author's account of his own life. I'm not even gonna get into like why this is funny, because this is hilarious to me, because the sheer audacity to be upset that books offered on a plantation told too much about the Black people that were enslaved there and not enough about the white people in the house. Get out of here, Michelle. Get out of here. She calls herself a historian too. Please.
Moving books about slavery from plantations? Yep, it's true. It actually happened this month in Texas, where the Historical Commission has decided to remove numerous books about slavery from plantations. Oh my goodness. One of the main places these books absolutely need to be. It reminds me of a passage from the book Humanity Archive by Jermaine Fowler, where Mr. Fowler talks about the erasure of Black history. He says, the omissions of Black history has been used in service of white power. They said slavery was humane. They blamed victims. They justified the unjustifiable. This helped keep a legalized caste system in place in America some 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. But we do the work. We move through the dust and soot, trying to restore our treasured heirlooms. We re-examine the legacies. Thanks again to Jermaine Fowler for this amazing book, and to Row House Books for amplifying voices that matter.
So I live in Texas. Not much shocks the hell out of me. I'm just lucky enough to be in Austin where it's, blue. But this headline shocked the hell out of me. Texas Historical Group removes slavery books at an ex-slave plantation. They removed them out of the gift shop. Just Google it. You can read the whole story, but the gist of the story is this lady who considers herself a historian, part-time, not college educated, continued to go to this plantation and continued to go into the gift shop and continued to write letters stating books about slavery in the gift shop at a plantation need to be removed. I kid you not. Google it. Google Texas Historical Group removes slavery books. It'll be the first or the second one that comes up. You can't make it up. Of course, it's some white chick. Of course. But I have a little gift for y'all. I found her on Facebook. Y'all know what to do. Stand by. I'm going to provide you with her Facebook page. Go have some fun. This has got to stop. How about don't go fucking plantation if you don't want to read about slaves? How about that? It's an embarrassment for people. It's an embarrassment for historians. And I can't imagine what people of color are feeling when shit like this happens. I can't put myself in their shoes. I'm not even going to attempt or try to. But as a white person, I'm fucking embarrassed that a white woman can complain and have, I think it's 10 or 11 books taken off the shelves in a gift shop at a plantation. Stand by. I'm going to show you her Facebook page. Here it comes. And in my famous words, girl, bye.
Now, recent revelations by Texas Monthly have shed light on a contentious decision by the Texas Historical Commission, THC, to remove books on slavery from plantation gift shops in the state. While the agency maintains that this move is unrelated to politics, internal emails suggest otherwise, leading to concerns about the erasure of critical historical narratives. There is a sad irony to a historical commission removing a book of slave remembrances titled Remembering the Days of Sorrow from a plantation's gift shop. Yet that is one of 25 books, some about slavery and nearly all dealing with race and written by black writers, that the Texas Historical Commission has removed from the gift shops of 2 plantations. As Texas Monthly has reported, the books were removed at the behest of amateur historian Michelle Haas. She began objecting to books she saw for sale at at the Venahook plantations. In touring these sites, Michelle believed that too much emphasis was put on slavery and not enough on Texas history. Michelle runs a nonprofit advocacy organization called Texas History Trust and rails against what she calls woke education and critical race theory. Now, in a December 2022 video posted on her website, she sarcastically dismissed the books as children's books about diversity and inclusion, as if that's a bad thing, modern black radical memoirs and modern books about systemic oppression. Now, she also criticized the Venahook plantation for failing to emphasize that palm color people did not commit all the beatings and torture of the enslaved, but that a black overseer who was also enslaved committed some of the brutality. It's as if Michelle believes that forcing one enslaved black person to commit violence against other enslaved black people abdicates the palm color slave owner ordering the acts of violence. Now, she shared her objections to these books with a board member of the Texas Historical Commission, which oversees Texas historic sites. For most of this year, while she continued to advocate for the removal of these books. Now, both shared the belief that since most of the books weren't about Texas, they should be sold at those sites. They succeeded. As of last month, none of the 25 books were being sold in the two plantations gift shops. Those books include Remembering the Days of Sorrow, a collection Texas slave narratives from the 1930s, compiled by the Works Progress Administration, Roots, Alex Haley's novel about slavery, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, an autobiography by Harriet Jacobs, who was enslaved before she ran away, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson, How the World is Past, a reckoning with the history of slavery across America by Clint Smith, which happens to be about how monuments and landmarks tell the story of slavery. Now, other books removed include classic novels such as Zora Neale and a lot more. Removing books about slavery from plantation gift shops is like removing books about the Civil War from the Gettysburg Museum store. Now, in a curious twist, after Texas Monthly published its story about the Historical Commission's removal of the books, Michelle told the magazine that she opposed the removal of some of the books, saying slavery is the most historically significant part of the history of those sites. Hell no, I don't want the removal of books on the subject, but they were on the list she sent to the Historical Commission. Citing Remembering the Days of Sorrow, she actually said if THC, under its new retail policy, has decided not to sell, for example, the WPA slave narratives, I will rally for the return of that title. Again, it was on the list of books she sent to the Historical Commission along with the publisher's description. Now, the Venahook and Levy Jordan plantations were trying to tell fuller and more accurate stories about their history. Doing so requires including stories about the lives of the enslaved and what they endured. Now, they should be commended for showing how historical understanding can be formed in isolation. They should be commended for selling, until recently, books that explain slavery's enduring and undeniable legacy. We hope that she follows through on her pledge to rally for the return of some of those titles. We also hope she reads them. Now, Michelle has a graphic designer and founder of Copano Bay Press, has a history of critiquing narratives about slavery. She has even written a book, 200 Years Old, which challenges historical accounts and argues that many historical perspectives are overly harsh on the South, failing to acknowledge the social and economic context of slavery during the period of the 13 colonies. Much of her contributions to the Texas Reader Center around railing against critical race theory and revisionist academics. Now, in 2022, she launched the Texas History Trust, a nonprofit advocacy organization aimed at challenging what is described as the warping of Texas history by various entities. And she has been vocal in protesting what she terms as woke ideology, neo-Marxist influence, and critical race theory, despite the latter not being taught below the college level in Texas. We have come to the end of the video. Feel free to share your own thoughts about this video. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.